Greetings, greetings, Whisper Your family. We are here tonight to talk about relationships. This is a topic that I've been trying to approach since early spring. Never got the opportunity to do so, but tonight we will. We have with us tonight Kofi, the coach, and we also have Donna Savage that will be joining us in a discussion about sex, love, and relationships right here in Black Canada. So let's just see here. Donna Savage, how are you?
I'm great. And yourself?
I'm gonna just actually go in before we join and just actually share with our listeners a bio about you. And then we'll have Kofi join. Once he joins in, we'll get him joining in as well. Your new is a certified coach and life coach, professional speaker, and founder of Savage Desires. She runs a woman's relationship with her own body because being fully alive and free in our own bodies is a foundation for healthy relationships, confidence, and building with others and self. So, so true. And you have Kofi, let me just see here, who has not joined yet. Let me just see if he's there in the balance. I know I was connected with him today. Here. I'm so excited to have this conversation. And Donna, well, welcome yourself in while I'm just juggling on to Kofi's. If you can just tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, because that wasn't enough. That bio, that was a real short, actually.
You wanted to be nice and sweet. It was nice and it was just a nice and sweet and short bio. We didn't want to bore them with my bio, right? I think
Yeah, well,
the conversation tonight is going to light the fire on their asses.
Yeah, so tell our listeners just a little bit more about your background. I mean, I know you do have a book out there, but what really inspired you to really um, get into developing people's self-love and relationships, and what got you into this life?
It started with me. Of course, most times when life coaches or things happens or let's say you write a book, it always starts with yourself, your journey, your personal journey. And when you overcome your personal your journey is like, oh my God, why can't I have other women, before help other women to come up with this journey that they've had, I mean, because my background is Jamaican. I'm West Indian. I came to Canada at 17. So I had, a little bit of life in Jamaica and the rest here in Canada. And as West Indian or background and or how we're growing up or talk about sex and sexuality was not the greatest. Let's put it that way. So coming here, meeting someone right off the bat, hang out, have children, get married, living a life, but you still don't know what you're doing. Because then you had your parents and your grandparents and people surrounding you as examples, and they didn't know what they were doing either. You know what I mean? So, so that's how it started.
I'm glad that you did touch that because I did not know exactly. I mean, I'm Canadian, totally, born in Canada, and I didn't exactly know where your journey began here. And I know how important it is for us to tell our narrative, and it's bang on because we have a Caribbean culture background where it's not the American narrative. And there's coffee, right? It's not the American narrative. We have a whole different story when I hear, people venting, have the black man's back and all this stuff there. I'm thinking, yeah, right? You know what I mean? Our culture is that we favoritize our black girls, if anything. You know what I mean? Kofi, welcome.
Listen,
We have here with us Donna Savage, and we have Kofi, Coach Kofi, that just joined us. And I'm just gonna quickly read your bio, Kofi, and have you as well introduce yourself to our listeners, to our viewers here today. We're here to talk about sex, love, and relationships, the Black Canadian narrative. Not everybody else's narrative. It doesn't make any sense to me. And this is why I've selected these people, such as Donna and yourself, Coach
Good
Kofi. So,
night. Good night. Good night,
Kofi,
everyone. Good night. Donna, blessed to see you.
Hey,
Blessed to see you, Sharon.
Kofi.
Apologies,
okay,
I'm coming from a men's meeting. I had to leave the meeting to come in and hold space. I'm looking forward to a conversation.
um, I didn't have no idea. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to read a little bit about you. Our listeners, we have here with us Coach Kofi. Kofi Morris, also known as BR Kofi, is an author, public speaker. Kofi is Fonde, founder of Cosmic Wellness, a holistic health business which focuses on promoting modern health. I like that. Kofi offers wellness solutions using traditional healing methods to those seeking to live life grounded in personal success, mindsets centered on the core values and personal mission. As the co-chair of Harriet Tubman Community Organization, B.R. Kofi also enjoys his time volunteering, sharing with his skills and experience with the community youth groups in the GTA, which is the six, and the environment and international audiences. So welcome, Kofi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to a lively conversation, one of my favorite topics.
No, I'm so glad. Like I'm just glad. When I was looking at the dynamics of the fact that both of you guys are coaches, I didn't see that. But when I started to, dig around and see, like, wait, he's about cosmic alignments, and me, I'll be like in my horoscope, looking like, okay, Leo. Um, life is a relationship, and I want to I mean, I sent you guys a bunch of topics, but I want us to look at, the Black Canadian narrative. Um, I know that Donna Savage told us a little bit about herself, but Kofi, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself apart from the bio just read today.
Absolutely. And you mean specific to, because there's, again, you said there's several different elements that we're speaking about. Is there something specific you want me to speak to with regards to your question?
You know what? Even probably the first question that I had earlier in our questions, I didn't establish whether or not, what was your guys' backgrounds. I'm a Canadian, so I'm Canadian, Guyanese, Jamaican. Donna is a Jamaican Canadian who is became to Canada at 17. So she has a bit of that young experience of dating and relationships.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm born of two Trinidadian parents. I was born here in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
Funny enough, I my parents sent me to Trinidad from I was 1 till I was 3 years old. I didn't actually find that out till later.
Oh,
Um, yeah, but the funny thing is that I've always had this connection to the Caribbean and to Trinidad. It always felt like, we say back home, but it always felt like a true home away from home for me in my spirit. I didn't really understand why till later, right? So that's where like my real community connection, like cooking food outside, me being in my diaper, outside walking around. These are like experiences that I don't know, for some reason, I thought they were just me visiting, but it was actually that I lived there for a period of time. And it was as a result of challenges in my parents' relationship at that time that, they send you back home to be raised by the aunties and the grandmas, right?
mhm.
And as you talk about the like astrological connections, the interesting thing about it is the aunt that I was raised by for part of those 2 years is born the same day as me, which I also found out later. right? So, and she's a very communal type of person. So she has about 7 children, and her home was always people coming in and out, family coming in and out. And I just had this thing about me all the time. And then coming to Canada, back to Canada, my house was always filled with people. My parents are limers. Um, Down to today. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, like it means that they like party, they like
Okay.
music, they like, my there's music in my family. So my grandfather, they had a band. So um people were always coming, both from my mom and dad's side of the family. So like communal connections and extended family has always been part of my experience. And I think it leads into again why I go by Brother Kofi is because I look at myself as being a brother to this Toronto community, this meeting place, the village Toronto, right? And I just so many brothers and sisters that I've claimed along the way. I have one biological brother, but I say I have 9 brothers that I've you know kind of inherited on the journey, and I have many sisters as well, right? So we as an African family, like we're just coming back to ourselves, coming back to our extended family and having an
Yes.
understanding. We have Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, like right here, just on this, between the three of us.
Right,
But
right.
imagine the other 8 people and whoever else is on the internet right now, that we all
Yes.
have these common experiences that connect us because we all came from one place.
Is it? And I'm also glad with the common experience that we can all, the three of us here, can relate to a Black Canadian experience that took to high school, where a lot of relationships take place. I was one of the early birds in terms of relationships. Was a very, very young mother, and I don't want to, like what Donna Savage had said. Bear with me a quick moment here. Donna Savage had mentioned, that she's in that high school experience, um, where girl meets boy. A lot of us have, these relationships. Donna, what was your experience at 17? Yes, you came here to get your education and thing, but your relationship
You
was,
know,
what did that look
you know what it looks like? It looked like for me, because remember, I'm coming here at 17. So I'm going to give a quick synopsis. So I had lived in a two-parent home in the upper class part of Jamaica. My parents got separated when I was 14. So we moved from one area to the next. Self-esteem just plummeted. Went to an area with my grandmother. So again, we have to build new friends. So we started new friends, then for 3 years, and then come to Canada. So that's not a very good experience for a young person because you're leaving everything behind that you knew or you thought you knew. Came to Canada at 17 on a Wednesday, met my ex-husband on the Saturday.
like? So quickly beat him.
Listen to me, like the man was waiting for me somehow. So the experience wasn't great because when I met him, I was not a good place. Neither was he. And I mean, I back in the days before I understood what journeys and healing was, I understand that he was going through his thing and I was going through his thing, and we both met
Mm,
at a level that we were both vibrating at a very low frequency. You know what I mean? I had my first child at 21.
okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't young young, but it was young. It wasn't young young. So that's cool.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so I guess that your partner very fairly early then I would say then at this when you
I'm
just
sorry, say
came,
that again.
you had met your first one of your first intimate relationships when you just
When I
had came.
just came, yeah, because in Jamaica it was kiss up, touch up, what nothing crazy. So then you came here, and then things happened.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Things happened,
I'm
and it's like,
the whole, the different culture because I know for me, growing up in Canada, in high school and whatnot. Honestly, typically speaking, where Black relationships were concerned, a lot of the Black guys liked white girls. Um,
mm-hmm.
Filipino sisters, wrong with other sisters, you know what I mean? And and then I myself, being a young mother, my self-esteem was very low. Even though I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't accept it then, my
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem was very low. But again, that challenge of seeing people that I was attracted to, never attracted to me,
But
attracted
you
to
know,
everything but me.
but I think you know what I'm gonna say this. I mean, I believe that a lot of black women always have a low self-esteem because we weren't talked to, we were yelled at. You know what I mean? And when we
Regarding
were being yelled, yeah, we weren't talked to. Like we're not, they're not talking to us.
with
They're
us,
yelling at us. Yeah, they're
yes.
always constantly yelling, and you know what I mean. So that alone didn't give us a voice. So that alone is like your self esteem is plummeting, and then you're gonna probably find someone, you're a young mother, who you think was listening to you. So then of course that's gonna happen. Oh my God, he's the first person that's probably listening to me. Da, da, da. It makes me feel special. You know what I mean? Because as Caribbean background, we're not listened to. And I think I have a different outlook for you because in terms of the race of people that you dated. I mean, I grew up in Jamaica. I'm always around black people. I mean, I went to school with a couple clear people, but nothing crazy. You know what I mean? So then I came to Canada. I was always at this. I'm always around, melanated people. So, and that's what I'm attracted to. So that clear person never really. I mean, I talk to them, but it's like you know what I mean? Like I'm not attracted to them. you know. So
I know what you know exactly what you mean. I know and
yeah.
I'm not trying to say that this has become my curse to be attracted to
Okay.
people that look like me. But being
Hmm.
attracted to people that look like me, I'm if we don't even love ourselves, it I don't know each other. You know what I'm saying?
It's
And
huge.
that's the problem. Like 'cause often I'm like, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean?
And
Let's
that's the thing. You were asking the wrong question because there's nothing wrong with you. you know, always
but
trying to rejoin.
it's the curse. We need Kofi back up here. He's trying to rejoin, so let's see. Shayna, do you know if you can see if you can get Kofi to rejoin? Let me see if I could invite him. I should be able to invite him though. How do I really want to hear about these brothers. Why, what is like Kofi might not even be the exactly, but he might have brethren or he might have counseled people that, I see black men that are attracted to me, but and they might have other people in their lives that don't look like me. I see that. Or that was the previous relationship. And but for some reason, as other groups,
Hmm.
I want to know what the other groups have or what they're doing that I'm not doing, right? Kofi, we need you. Get up here. How do we do that? Okay, there you are. Kofi, did you hear any of the what we were discussing so far?
I did, absolutely, I did.
We first shared, yeah, people might have been college, but more or less, I was a very young mom. So more or less, starting from high school, what was that story like? Were we all going down to Spectrum to hear Specs the Boss? You know what I mean? He goes like, you know what I mean? Were we
You know
all
what?
going,
I've never been to one of his parties.
oh,
This
from
is
day,
after divorce. I start going out like seriously, and that's been 10 years. You know
yeah.
that's
He
yeah.
goes,
I was never that person.
yeah. He goes way back to that pop culture that influenced us today. Our pop culture here in Canada, might not have been R&B as much as, everybody got that. It was reggae. It might, and we got some hip hop. We had house, but reggae and rubber dub of high civilized culture was part of our pop culture from what I see there. And hence, even the newer generations, younger generations, have been influenced by our decisions, and also that root culture here in Canada.
Hmm.
This is why I know our narrative from the US is day and night.
Yeah, I believe that too. The U.S. and Canadian things are just separate, like it's totally different. But yeah, I'd like to hear Kofi jump on and see what's going on in his
But
Going back to, yeah, going back to so a couple things, right? So I'm gonna touch upon that last part of what you just said in terms of the pop culture, the scene and the reggae scene and all of that, right? We can't take for granted that music is not only a universal language, but it's one of the things that connect all of us. So all of our the Caribbean nations, continent, Africa, everybody. You go to a dance, you hear the music, you start to move, you build a vibes, build a connection, you get a little soup, is it? You know, if it's a little basement jam or something like that, you know, you get a soup, hold a corner, you know. At the end of the night, what would happen, right? Like the DJ plays such a significant role in the connections because
absolutely.
DJs brought together some of the people we see today that are still in relationships with children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of them old school tunes, because of those old rubber
Mm-hmm.
dub, and because of those love tunes they played at the end of the dance, so you could get your little wine in, so a man could ask for the
Where's your
number,
card?
right? So you could have the
Uh-huh.
follow-up conversation in the week, which led to the first date, right? It's the
Mhm.
DJ that started that process,
This is it.
right? You know what I mean? He or she, they started that process. So we can't take for granted the impact of music, culture, the dance scene.
Mm.
That was how our dating started. That's how relationships started. And then, you know, how many of us were probably conceived to some of them Luther Vandross, you know, some of them Al Green tunes, right? So I just
Yes.
wanted to draw reference to that because today, unfortunately, when you go to a dance, that's not the case. You'd be lucky if you get some slow tune. You'd be lucky if they play the whole tune, right? And you'd be lucky if they play that at the end of the dance like they used to, right? So that those connections can be made, right? So the music has so much to do with like culture and how we show up and how we connect as a people.
Hmm.
But so that's a part of, you know, what I wanted to share. But the question you asked about our relationships, um, we have a common relationship. We have a common experience as men, as boys and girls, going to school, you know, in this North American setting, because I don't know if you all had this experience, but you know, there wasn't many. I was in Durham and at a young age, so my school, I didn't have a lot of black people in my school. And again, sometimes it's me and one other black girl in the class, right? And the thing about it is, you know how our culture was sold or not sold to us as not being beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Dove commercial, the aloe oil of Olay, all of these things is the white woman with the long blonde hair and all of that stuff,
Skinny.
right?
Don't forget skinny.
Right? Like none of those things, and that's not how my mom looked, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's the narrative that was sold to us. Not picky hair, you know what I mean? Not that like that wasn't what was sold as beautiful to us, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think we became accustomed to now. Of course, I always had a connection to my people for whatever reason. I always had this love for my people. Or we lost.
She's
So I
gone.
just
We'll just keep talking until she gets back up.
them don't like when we start talking about them serious things down and we start to hit upon these things. You
Right?
know, they shut it down
We
one
want to shut
time.
it down, but we're not letting them shut it down. So keep
Not at
going.
all. Not at all. So I mean, you know, the whole reality of um, you know, the Beckys and the Amandas and all of these people um became, you know, the what do you call it? The vision or the thing of beauty, what was looked upon as being beauty or whatever. Um, however, there was still a draw for me to my people. So yeah, I had my little white girlfriend in grade 4 or whatever it was, which what didn't last long because I tell people this story. When I was in grade 6, um, was one of my first relationships, if you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a scenario where a friend of mine, we were on the street, we were in Durham at the time, we are in Ajax, and we got chased by these skinheads, right? and I was with my white girlfriend at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me and my brethren, we were chased by these skinheads. So when it was over, the older guys, neo-Nazi vibe, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
When it was over, one of them called the police or whatever. Police came, asked questions, and I'm looking at the situation like, so them the people just chased me, chanting Hail Hitler with their hand up in the sky or whatever. And she's crying, my girlfriend at the time, she's crying and all of that stuff. But in my head, I'm like, something's wrong with this picture. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Something's wrong with this picture because you don't really know. This is without anybody really breaking it down to me. And remember, I'm like 11 or 12 at the time, right? Grade six. I was mature for my age. I used to hang around older people. So she was in grade 8, right? I'm in grade 6. Nobody asked me no question, right?
We won't.
But
Off the
that
camera.
being said, right? Um, the joke is that I'm thinking in my head like something not right because she can't really understand my plight right now. She can't really understand my situation, right? That was my last white girlfriend,
But
right?
it's amazing that you at a young age you realize this and you recognize it and it didn't sit well with you. Unfortunately, a lot of the brothers, like what Sister Sharon was saying, is like, hands off because for whatever reasons. But like you know it and you feel it. And I've seen, like yourself, I hear people telling their spouses and them calling them the double R's and they're still together and is that okay? It's not okay. It's not okay. And you're
Mhm.
still with them. So even when I saw Sharon's questions about, why this and not a listen, anyway, we could go on and on about that, but we won't. Go ahead, Coffee.
It's
Sorry, you just
one
get on nerve
all
because
of,
I've seen this.
all
And
the
I hope,
that were put out there are literally probably one topic each because there's
Mm-hmm.
such a gap. We're just
It's a lot.
opening form today to really start this dialogue as I really don't think we've had enough conos to really talk about the Black Canadians. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, I have a biracial child, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
we are community, and do we want to not step on people's toes? But I know that I am attracted to my Black man. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm on the fence today.
You're on the
Today,
fence.
the state of these last 2 years, roughly, I would say this year and last year, where it's like, yeah, a Sikh man is great, and I'm a straight up. I'm not even gonna blink. A Sikh brother, South Asian brother,
You know what? You like what you like.
white
You like what you like.
day, because my Black brothers aren't enough for me, and they seem to think that I am not enough either. And that's
Do
where
you?
I,
Is it that
where
they
I
think that, or you? Are you, Sharon? Like I feel that you don't think you're enough. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I
I agree.
feel that. Yeah, I feel that's where that is going. It's not that
I'm
because
getting there.
all of this is not about them. It's about you. And
I could
until
say
you
so.
figure out that you're enough, you will get what you want. But if you're going to always say that about yourself, you're not going to attract the right person for you.
I
So
feel,
you need
you
to.
know, I think to some extent by design, it's created that you said earlier, like, with self-esteem with Black women and so forth. Malcolm X also has said that we are the most underappreciated human beings on the planet, right? So when I'm feeling good about myself, and I might be winning awards and this, that, and just feeling good, and I'm glowing. I don't, it's not to say I'm in a lock for man, forget man. It's no problem forgetting males. I say males, right? Yeah. So you could draw them in. Maybe I am doing something wrong not to be able to keep them, but for some reason there's always when it reaches a certain point, suddenly I'm not enough. Whether it be my status, financial status, whatever it might be, there's something that I'm not able to give. I don't know what it is. And I'd be sexualized before I'd be um cherished.
So when you're dating these men, are you seeing any red flags? Because you can't see red flags from a mile away if you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, it's gonna go right over your damn head.
I
It's
mean,
gonna go over your head.
what's left?
Hmm?
I
I'm
think it's
sorry.
I think it's the options. Kofi, you seem really quiet. You're in a zone.
I
No,
think he's just.
I'm taking what you're saying because,
Mhm.
going back to what we were just talking about, some of this starts in grade school, right?
Absolutely.
When we were kids, yeah.
Right? I remember not wanting to go to swimming because I was the only black foot you know, on the platform, so to speak,
Hmm.
right? I didn't see no other black feet. I was the only black feet, right?
I
Um,
understand.
it's this thing, it's that lack of self-love, right? It takes us time to develop it as opposed to you're coming up seeing yourself as beautiful, handsome, intelligent, A, B, C, and D, right? Some of those other
Hmm.
cultures we're talking about, that's being promoted in their home. It's not to say it's
Hmm.
not promoted in our home, but remember, a lot of our parents came from an environment where it was all black. If you came from Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, da da da, da,
Uh-huh.
it's all black. So it's not like you had to promote that aspect unless your parents are Pan-African, your parents are Garveyites or something. Outside from that, you were who you were. You were Guyanese, you were Jamaican, you were Trini. You come to Canada, they tell you you're black. Now all of
Hmm.
a sudden you're trying to fit into what this blackness is, right? And oftentimes, what is this blackness? This blackness is what's now looked upon on BET. This blackness is we're ignorant. This blackness is we don't have enough. This
We're
blackness is
angry.
da da da
Now,
da da. You go, we're angry. We're all of these negative things when that's not how we saw ourselves. We didn't see
Hmm.
ourselves that way. So we're taking on this outside narrative. So now we have to relearn, right? What our parents kind of already came up with, right? We have to relearn why am I beautiful? Why am I handsome? Why am I this? Why am I creative? How am I sorry? All of those things, right? So you're starting, we're already starting like from a deficit, so to speak, and we have to encourage our children, right, from young to know and understand those things. So I think you come up now, and if you don't get the affirmation, especially from your brothers, from your sisters, meaning like from another person of color, from another person of African descent, you're not getting that affirmation over time, you're going to start to question some of those things, right? Unless, again, they're being affirmed somewhere externally, right? So then you start your own journey of self love and understanding that, shoot, like I need to love myself first before I want to look for anybody else to acknowledge my brilliance, to acknowledge my beauty, so to acknowledge my creativity, all of those things. I have to see it in myself. For performers, we talk about reggae and stuff. For performers to get on stage, they have to believe in their craft enough to get up on that stage, to write that, to,
we
to
gotta-
chant that song, to do whatever, right?
Hmm.
So it takes that ability for us to see ourselves as being valuable, right? So I think that's where it
Hmm.
starts, going back to what Donna said. And so
Hmm.
if you don't have that, then when somebody comes along and tells you some of those things, if they're not necessarily coming from a genuine place, but they're coming from a place to get something from you or to take advantage of you, you may still be receptive to it because they're telling you you're beautiful now. They're telling you you're this now. They're telling you you're that now. And going on what you just said, if it's an Arab brother, if it's a whoever, if it's a white guy, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Yeah, look to him now and be like, but how come well, I'm not getting it over here, but I'm getting it over here. So this is why I think a lot of us end up initially, we end up like pursuing interracial relationships, right? Because that's where
Hmm.
the affirmation is coming from, right? Because technically, this whole thing about, opposites attract or whatever, you're intrigued by the thing that's different in a sense, right? Initially, you have this interest. So you start a
Yeah.
conversation and you start to figure out, oh, well, this person's a good person or this person has a good personality trait I can get down with. Cool. Somebody put in the
Hmm.
chat that love is love kind of like is love colorblind or whatever. We could get into that, but initially you're going to be drawn to somebody that respects you, that looks to you as that kind of promotes your positive qualities. You're going to want that no matter what. But it's not just because they have your same skin tone that they're going to do that, right?
This is
We have to
true.
we have to be mindful of that too, right? Because whenever there were two black people in a space or in a class or whatever, what did they want to do? Male, female. They want to link us up. Oh, why didn't you go with, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you go with Denise, right? So you almost push it back because you're like, hold on. So how come I only have one option?
Hmm.
You know what I
right?
mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be like, no, like, you know what? Like, whoever is cool, da da da, right? But eventually, I think you make almost a political decision because you know, like, for example, you know, the kind of children that you want to have, right? For example, like, just, you know, you have an idea of kind of like the things you that appeal to you, your culture appeals to you. So somebody else that likes reggae music or eats the food that you eat or wears the clothes that you wear, you're gonna have an innate just connection with that person. So it's easier to pursue that relationship with that person, right? But they still have to attract you. They still have to be interesting in conversation. They still have to have those, you know, so if we have more people that don't look like us that have that appeal, then who are we going to start to date at an early age? You can't
Mm-hmm.
raise your child in Richmond Hill, in Ajax, in Brampton, right? And assume and think that they're going to suss out and find the person of color, like the black person, versus all of the South Asian and the white and everybody else. You almost have to assume they're most likely going to date, you know, the predominant race of people that's in their class. That's what's going to happen. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually they're going to choose, and it's what you instill in them at young that's going to make them choose somebody almost that looks like you. Because honestly, who is our first love? Our opposite sex parent is our first love. That's the first person that you love, right?
It
I
ought
was
to be.
looking at, it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. I say one thing quick because I've talked a lot. I was looking at old pictures. I pulled up some old albums. You know, I used to go to people's house, and one of the things we used to do, pull out an old album and look at
Look it
pictures.
up.
I was looking at old pictures yesterday and I saw a picture of my mom in her wedding dress. And
Mm.
like I was looking, I was like, yo, my mom was beautiful. She's still beautiful, right? She's older now. But I was like, my mom was the first image of me of a beautiful black woman,
Mm-hmm.
right? My mom was like the Claire Huxtable for me, right? Because not
Yeah.
only was she beautiful, she was strong, intelligent. You know, she worked in the bank. She had charisma. She had class. She had all of these things. So to me, no matter what, even if I strayed when I was young, I was still going back to the black woman because that was my first image of what beauty, intelligence, charisma, creativity, knowing how to own a space, knowing how to, you know what I'm saying? All of those things. So I think at the end of the day, you know, our default is going to be what we were exposed to early on. And if it was the opposite sex parent or at least opposite sex, let's say, model of what that thing was, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be more drawn to that. But
And
we're still going to choose at the end of the day.
yeah, I feel like something down the line, the word value came up late in my, because I was doing, like, as I know we were supposed to do the show earlier this spring, and then now we're back again having this conversation. And value was kind of just popped up again. I was like, that's the word I'm looking for. Because it's a double-edged sword. How do you where I was actually, let's say 8 months ago, and with these questions that not the audience heard them all, but have read, where my value for self and wanting to be valued by others. My focus was on why aren't they valuing me, right? Why don't they value me when I knew, as Donna Savage was saying, that how do I value myself? And I would put the word unwaveringly, because someone coming along and imposing, like I have a tendency that I like to date Canadian men. I like Canadian black. I like Jamaican, but they get weary. Like Canadian black men. I'm not even gonna lie. And got weary.
And that's okay.
But
You like what you like.
right, as he said, someone, people you could identify with and so forth. Canadian black men is something that I could identify with. But then again, my experience was that they did date people that didn't look like me. White girls, all these other different girls that didn't look like me. So suddenly now in my later um, there's a lot of these white women or relationships like, you know what, I need me a black one. This is what I need to identify with. I had one brother, I need my rib, my rib, my rib. And it was like, and he was with, I didn't even know at the time he was with a white woman, right? And he was expressing, and but at the same time, somewhere, we value of each other. As I said earlier, self-love, but then if you don't love yourself, you're really not gonna love what doesn't, you're not gonna love what looks looking, onto the outside. And it's like, I think we've even established that, but it's like, how can we find ways to align? It's like, I know that this is a product of slavery, you know, um, uh, and right here in Ontario has a production or a project coming out from slave ships to relationships. And we really are in this crook of a mess. Donna, you talked about how our mothers, our parents talk to us about relationships. They talk
Mm.
about that. It wasn't like they talk, when you were saying, yeah, yeah, no, they didn't really want to talk. I even asked my mother, what do you want from me out of a relationship?
You know what? You know what? Beautiful. I hear what you're saying, and how long are we gonna blame slavery on our mindset? I mean, it happens, and I know it happens, and I know the DNA runs in us, but we have choices. Are we gonna always continuously live by the past? I know the past defines who we are, but then we're gonna start making choices. And I know I teach a lot about intergenerational trauma, and I mean, it happens. It is what it is. But at this point in our life, when are we going to start taking ownership? We have to also take ownership because at the end of the day, Sharon, we can break that chain. We cannot continue blaming other persons for the journey that we're having. Listen, in any form of healing, it's a lot of work. First, we have to
Yeah,
define what love is and how do I love myself. First and foremost, we have to have a definition of how I want to be loved. And if we don't know how we want to be loved, how are you going to meet somebody and say, dude, this is how I want to be loved? When you meet somebody, are you asking the right questions? Or because he kissed you, you guys have sex, you're going to say, okay, we're in a relationship. And that's what happens a lot of time. People are not
this is-
asking the right questions because they don't want to hear the response. You're not going to have a fruitful, loving relationship if you're not asking the hard questions. I
yeah,
remember when I had just gotten separated from my husband. I have 4 children. I have a girlfriend that had 5, and she said, "Oh, nobody's going to want to date you." My husband said the same thing to me too. That's why I took so long to leave him, because I didn't want to be by myself with 4 children. Oh, you won't find a man that who's going to want you with your 4 children. I have 5, da da da, and she comes with every excuse in the book. I was going through my healing, and I said, "No, that's not true." I date men who wants a woman with children. And I've never had an issue picking up a man because I did the work. I know what I want and I define who I want. Is it easy? No, because sometimes your old paradigm comes up. Brother Cooper talk about relearning. But in order for us to relearn, we have to also unpack. We have to unpack the trauma. We have to unpack the things that and how we thought about ourselves.
yeah.
So we can put new stuff on old stuff. We
True.
literally generally have to get rid of the old stuff to bring new stuff in. And if you're gonna constantly talk about, oh, I can't get because whatever issues, you're not gonna get the person that you want if that's how you think about yourself. So you have
And
to
it's
make a choice. You have to make a choice. Everyone has to make a choice. I am the shit. I am
and be
worthless.
honest. And be
You have to
honest
be.
about your
You
your
have
the
to be honest. If you
that's
need
what
work, you have to do work. If
And
you're
it's
if
yeah,
you're trauma filled or if you're scared, say it and don't pretend that you're not scared. You're scared, just say it.
yeah, be honest.
You
and
Yeah,
have to
it's
be
that's
honest.
easier. It's easier to believe. Okay, so there's a quote in my book. I talk about this that you have to believe. It's an elder who said this to me that you have to believe like 85% or so in the affirmation for your subconscious mind to identify with it as being truth, right? So if you haven't done the work, so going on what you just said, Sadana, if you haven't done the work, and there's some background noise, I'm not sure. It sounds like there's something playing in the background or something. Sister
Oh, you
Sharon, is
can
there
hear it,
something?
Zara.
So yeah, picking up on the background. So this is the
Turn that
thing.
down.
If we haven't done the internal work, then we know ourselves we haven't done the internal work. So we're showing up subconsciously with this thing in the back of my head, like I have my stuff. It's like that song Bag Lady, Erica Badu, you know, of the Bag Lady.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
you, and it's not just for women. I'm just giving an example though. Men and women come with their bags. You're coming with all these bags, right? And you want to sit down with the person and talk about I'm light, you know, I'm packing light, you know. I wanna be with somebody that's packing light so we can, you know, you have your bags that you just brought with you weighing down your shoulder, and your shoulder is like this, and you're talking about your light. So we have to, it's true, like until we've started this process of healing, we don't even know who we truly are. We're showing up as a
Mhm.
representation of ourselves until we've done the work. We've done the internal
Mhm.
work. Now you can go, and it's like you've released some of those things that were holding you back from being able to actually see the truth of who you are. When you look in the mirror, you can look at yourself and see that this is not the person that was in the relationship that was broken, right? This is the person that has done the healing, that's showing up to say I'm ready, right? I'm ready to pursue something. When you start to date and stuff, and I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Let's not get it
Mhm.
twisted. It doesn't mean,
Mhm.
you know, you don't stop actually. The healing doesn't like stop. You don't get to a point where it's a destination, right? It's a journey. But you know when you've done the work, whereby when you're pursuing something with someone, you're not seeing them through the lens of the hurt person.
Mhm.
You're not
Mhm.
seeing them through the lens of the person that was cheated on, that was this, that this happened, A, B, C, and D, because you've done the
Mhm.
work, and you can look at this new person, right,
In a different
as
light.
being someone that's coming up. I used to say this to you know, like I would be in a journey with someone, and I would say to them, you know, don't uh, I'm not him, right? It's like I'm not him. Don't treat me like you treated him because he did A, B, C, and D to you, right? I'm not him. So give me the chance,
That's it.
right? Give me an
That's it.
opportunity, right? Because sometimes that's what we're doing. We don't even realize we're doing it, but it's because we haven't done the work,
Mhm.
right? So we're
Exactly. Hurt
seeing
people
that
hurt
person through the
people.
same loop, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you
it's
can't
funny.
hide that. You can't hide that. Something that that person will do will trigger you so that now
Mhm.
you're like you're pushing love. You're pushing this opportunity for love from this person away because
Mhm.
they just triggered you from something from your past that you didn't address. When
Yeah,
really this person has nothing to do with that, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So
I
we
like this
really
question.
have to do
I've
that.
It's a
actually
personal
seen my
one. Did
baggage
you read the
claim.
question? Does race really matter when it comes to love? Did you read
Say it
that,
again.
Sharon? Somebody
I
wrote
don't
a question. Does race
know
really
when I
matter
was.
when it comes to love?
I don't really. I actually. So funny. Like I mean, obviously, if I want to see more people that look like me, right, in this planet, right? I believe in Black families. Why should other groups have their families and I not, and we not have ours? You know what I mean? So I do believe in that. But in all honesty, when it comes to love, I've shifted now. I've between from early this year to now, because I was in a relationship for 2 years, that I would say was not healthy the past 2 years. And it was, honestly me identifying, whether I was enough. As you said, am I enough? And as Kofi's talking about the baggage, there were things that I mean, they have their own thing, you know what I mean? Their ex was a white woman, you know what I mean? And all that stuff there. There were things that I didn't align. Like we didn't have certain things that were aligning. Our cultures were slightly different. You know what I mean? Even though we were both Canadian and all that stuff. But I feel I've learned that it's literally, you know, how to put it? It comes down to, oh, I was actually not learning. It wasn't about the learning part. It was, I seen myself because of baggage respond to, let's say, how he would do something. Because of baggage, I would have a certain something that was just not relevant. He might have just been simple about something, and then my baggage would interpret it totally different,
You
right?
got triggered by something he said.
Yes, the trigger, and you don't even see it as a trigger. You just really see it as he meant that, but it was the baggage that told me what this is what he meant when it was. And I mean, like, oh my God, like it was that simple. You know what I mean? Right? And I'm not trying to put all on me. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that as much as I touch from slave to roots, I know that we now start where we're at now. We have to go into the depth of the baggage. We have to even go in. It's really important to know the history to really understand what you're dealing with today, to understand why your mother's afraid, or there's a lot. I say archetypes. But we really need to understand our history.
I
You know,
agree.
we
And
really,
Elder
really.
and Elder said to me today, she's actually a counselor. She's been counseling, for over 20 years or so. She said to me today that a lot of our sisters um, are suffering from the effects of postpartum depression,
Hmm.
right?
Mm,
I agree.
Years after the relationship. So you know how we often, unfortunately, we don't have a big like modern history of going for counseling, right? So as a result, and we're changing that now, but as a result, we had generations of mothers that went through that, and now because hasn't been addressed, it's still showing up in relationships years later. The children are up and gone and grown up, but even that is a trigger too. She was talking about empty nest syndrome, right? So you can be re-triggered by depression from empty nest syndrome now that your children have gone off, similar to the trauma feeling that you felt when the relationship ended way back, right?
Hmm.
But a lot of it is rooted back from the depression, the postpartum depression that wasn't
Hmm.
addressed when your children was born, when your first child or whatever was born, right? So you think about how that impacts us down the line. If that trauma is not addressed, right? The anger that could come from that, or the grief that could come from that, or whatever emotion that you want to say, right? That can play out in your parenting as well. So now the child is picking up on the depression, the anger of mom, the A, B, C, and D, right? And she just wants mom, or he just wants mom to be happy. So now it's a cycle of going back and forth, and it's like you're trying to, even the child is now trying to, and I've seen it, even with my own children and other people's children, right? Just trying to make mom happy.
Hmm.
So you do
Hmm.
things to try to make your mom happy, right? So now it's like the role has been shifted as well.
Hmm.
So now you grow up, and now the child is still trying to parent mom, all right? Because mom didn't deal with some of the trauma, which shows up now in future relationships. So the whole piece around whatever you want to call it, angry black, what am I call it, right? I don't even want to put the name
you,
there, right?
Yeah, we don't put those in the universe.
Right? But that concept in itself, no, that concept in itself could be, rooted in something that just wasn't addressed, right? That now just needs to be addressed. And it's like the inner child also is a whole nother it's a whole nother piece, right? But the inner child now that needs that time and that space to heal, right? That's what needs to happen before, like, again, pursue relationship. You want to pursue relationship, but you haven't dealt with the relationship itself. So
Hmm.
to heal the relationship with the inner child, to bring that inner child up to the adult, and now the adult now can show up in the relationship as the parent first, and the relationship partner. I've been in scenarios with women who had children. I got to the point where I was like, listen, you need to focus on your children. You need to focus on your child, because that's the person that actually needs your love and protection and attention right now, right? Versus me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here. Like, I'm not disappearing, but there's some things you need to address here before we pursue something. Because you see what's gonna happen is that you're gonna give me the attention now, and our relationship's gonna get the attention that your child needs. And now you have another cycle of person who didn't get their child, that child didn't get what it needed.
You know what? I really love that concept that you just said, because this is the thing, eh? This is the thing, though. And I see that not only for myself, because I've done the work too, is that we can't feed into anyone, even our children, if we're not feeding into ourselves first and foremost. I
yes,
believe that we need the healing in order for you. Too many of us has been raised by trauma-filled parents. Our trauma started from in the womb.
100%.
yes,
The minute we are that, that little womb, we're in the womb. That's where the trauma starts. Because whatever your parents are going through, we're feeling it. So whatever your father's going through, that's the seed has entered the mother. The mother's going through a thing. We are feeling it. from before the womb, and then you're born, and the trauma continues. I raised my children with a trauma-filled stuff because I didn't even know I was traumatic. Because I saw my mother did it, the shouting, the finger pointing, do as I say, not as I do. Da, 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 da. We all do it because we're trauma filled. We didn't deal with it. And if we don't deal with it, the cycle is going to continue. You know, it's
It's
going to continue. It's going to continue. And in order for me to raise beautiful, healthy children, I have to work on me and to understand why I'm shouting. Why am I giving the pointing finger? Why am I people pleasing? Why is everything? You know what I mean? We're always there's something triggering you. Sometimes somebody will say a word to you and you get triggered and you wonder why did that word trigger me? And that's why you talked about you probably have to understand our past in order to understand our future.
Mhm.
And I think everything starts in the home. We have to have that true, authentic conversation with our parents. If we have parents, if we don't have parents, some kind of relative, somebody who saw that we grow up. I've known women or men who were orphanage, who grew up as in an orphanage and don't know their parents, and they're going through their whole hell.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
And you
And they
gotta
don't know why. Hmm?
I look at what Kofi that breakdown of what Kofi said is literally I can relate to it
So
because
many people,
I
yeah.
was dealing with some health issues and met Dr. Leila Africa.
Hmm.
After the end of the conference, we all went and people were lining up to ask, say, what's wrong with them. Dr. Leila Africa, when I told him my situation, he said, your mother in the first trimester had a bad, da, 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 da," and he just started, because, how the genius works. May he rest in peace. I may he live in peace, I'm going to say rest in peace, live in peace. But he went off and he told me, and I looked at him, I said, how could he know what my mother went through based on my health issues?
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
One
Behavior.
health issue, I don't want to speak it out because everyone have to know my business. you know? And then going forward into what Kofi's saying and what you're saying, Donna, where that that trauma that after you've had the child, was there any counseling during the pregnancy? What was the pregnancy like? And this is being passed on right into our relationships, even within me letting go of this relationship that I was in. I was trying to let go. Pretty much brought in the same energy of my mother, so to put it. And
Hmm.
and once this relationship was over, the tears were about my mom. The tears were about my mom. My friend is there, and I started. I mean, I'm a fashion designer turned farmer, and I've got this project going on with sorrel and all this stuff, and my mom, and that just all these triggers, and I realized, this goes back to parenting, and now hearing you guys speak today, it's hitting back to parenting. So if I don't get that healing, and it was a recognizing that I needed to heal there because I didn't feel enough for my mother.
Hmm.
Right, my father's passed, but I mean, I was predominantly raised by my mother, and I didn't feel enough. I probably never will be enough. And it's passed on to relationships. So when you said it's you, and then as the months have passed, I realized that I need to be enough for me, so that nobody can say my son's in the
Drop mic. Did I drop mic?
my son,
Drop mic.
and he compared me to J Lo. I snapped when he compared me to J Lo, but then I see a lot of similarities. You know what I mean? I see what he was seeing in terms of, just being enough, you know. And I think this is something that's important for us to heal for us. I figured it out before we even came on the show today. We got to heal ourselves first before we could even align with anybody else.
And you know what's missing? Like I'm looking into the description of the conversation, right? And we haven't even gotten to the sex aspect yet.
I know, right?
But
And it's in
but
my
this
heart.
but this But this is a perfect segue because guess what? If you bring in that, not you specifically, if we are bringing that trauma, that brokenness, that whatever the stuff that hasn't got healed into the bedroom,
Mm.
and you're mixing two people that maybe both have some of that stuff, and
Mm.
we're thinking that spiritually somehow, because somehow we've disconnected spirituality from sex in the West because we've
Mm-hmm.
taken on some kind of European mindset perspective
Mm-hmm.
that has those things disconnected. They're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lilo Africa, I'm glad you mentioned him because Dr. Lilo Africa, for those that don't know, and maybe you could put his name in the chat, Sister Sharon, because this man is a master teacher. To me, he's like one of the modern day Imhoteps, right? But anyway, that being said, he
Was.
said he would say that we as people of African descent can't have a thought that's not connected to spirit, right? We can't
Exactly.
have a thought that's not connected to spirituality. So that being said, we bring those things into the bedroom. So now if you bring
Mm-hmm.
anger into the bedroom, if you're bringing the pain and the trauma into the bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
it's just now being transmuted into this relationship that you're trying to birth as being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Your foundation now is unhealthy. Your foundation is going to be built on those things that you didn't address. So guess what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen later on in the relationship? Those things are going to show up. So we shouldn't be engaging in sex, first of all, on a simple basic level when we're angry. We shouldn't be engaging in sex when we're coming with emotions that we haven't addressed, you know what I'm saying, that are
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy in that moment, because we're now bringing that into that encounter now, and we're cultivating that in that encounter. There's sometimes where people will talk about actually being angry after sex.
Mm.
Sometimes that's not your anger, that
It's transmuted over,
you
yeah.
got it from the person that didn't deal with
Mm-hmm.
their stuff. So it's like
Absolutely.
Dr. Africa would talk about meditating or putting yourself in a state before you get into intimacy with your partner, because you want to ground yourself and set some form of intention. And now people might be looking at, Kofi, we talk about, we can't, see, when I'm hot
Them not to
and I need
teach
to
the
get
man
to the
like that.
thing,
Them not
I don't have no
understand.
time for that. But
It's
I'm
true
telling you,
though.
if you take the time and actually do those things, because sometimes we treat it like it's that, right? We treat it like we're just trying to get to the thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Bang, 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 bang.
right? Well, then what happens? Both people are just coming into it like, let me get what I want,
It's a
right?
Mm.
physical. It's just a physical thing. They realize how spiritual it is, Kofi, and I totally get that. And you
Yeah.
know what it is, too, Kofi, for you to say that. I think our people need to understand that, and I don't think we do, and it's not talked about a lot. How
Mm.
sexuality is a spiritual thing. It's about,
Absolutely.
he said it, setting your intentions. Started from the day before. I mean, even earlier on in the day, and talked about it. You talk about
Yeah.
it. Bring it. Bring that spiritual aspect to it. One of the things that I even teach about too is a lot of women are not having orgasms. As Kofi said, too much bang bang, quick quick. It's not about orgasm or energy exchange anymore. It's about who can flip and dance and fling and go on in business.
Mm,
Perk-
Yeah, and performance is not happening for you. You're performing for the opposite sex. Close to 90% of women are not having true orgasms. And they not have it. It is what it is.
100%.
It's
And
not a performance. It's not a performance. No, Poopa Lake and Blizzard Black Panel and
Let me see if I can get this
very
diagram.
sacred.
But my put my kids like through like bar mitzvah, bat mitzvahs, and there was a diagram that my son had drawn. I don't know if he had learned it there because he might have been about maybe 17 at the time when he had drawn it, but he had drawn a diagram of the exchange of spirituality with sex. And I'm gonna see if I can if I could find it. I doubt it, but if I could actually get it from him, because or maybe he could redraw it or something like that, because it's really real. We might look at that, at something. I think we're gonna have to look at it at another conversation. I don't know if you guys are available next Wednesday at 9 p.m., but I think I would love for y'all to come back because it's funny. Like, I mean, we didn't probably talk about anything that's on the questions, like, to any depth, but it was funny that I mean, I'm telling you, even the topics were in there. I was like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm here now. You know what I mean? And it's like, it, as you said, it's not about only looking at just the past and saying, blaming slavery. We got to look at ourselves. We got to really look at ourselves individually. It's going to tie to slavery. I'm not going to lie. Because when I go to South America and I want to learn about my family, I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Right? And if I were to actually go and get you, I should go and get a picture of my grandmother. Stunning, gorgeous, beautiful woman. She's 98. Give God thanks. Gorgeous, beautiful woman. But can you imagine what she went through being that beautiful in those times and what is passed on to us?
Hmm.
So I'm looking at that aspect. But we really now got to really forge and find ourselves. There's no, got to heal. And yes, healing could take us back, but um, we really have to do what it takes to heal. Like for me to start my healing was letting go of a relationship where somebody didn't want me. Like it was unrequited love, right? And I don't even the one with low self-esteem that they were dealing with, why they had to oppress me
Hmm.
and make me hungry, right? Thirsty. But I know it had to start with me. I feel so much even lighter. you know, I feel lighter. But I didn't even know that I knew there was pain, but not as much pain as to that it was connected to my mother. Sometimes you'd even think it was connected to your father, but it's definitely was connected to my mother. Even trying to get into new relationships because there's always men. There's always men, but you know what I mean, right? It makes you realize, oh my God, I'm hurting because of my mother, or I'm feeling these ways or thinking these ways about me because of that relationship with my mother. I
Hmm.
some people don't even have their mother to try to rebuild that relationship, but the key thing is to heal from it. Would you
Hmm.
agree?
Yeah,
It's
I
heal.
agree. Because yeah, we have a lot of healing to do, and it start with conversations like this. Either
Yeah.
you start a conversation with yourself or a group of people. Healing through storytelling. You start telling your story, you heal. You can't.
Yes.
We have to regurgitate. There's no shame in our game. I mean, as West Indian background for all of us, I'm always say, you know what? Whatever happened to the house, staying at the house. No, we're not doing that anymore. Tell your story. Heal from your story. Heal from your story.
There's a question there about about female orgasm and positions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just put something in the chat with regards to someone named Mantak Chia.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of his books. This is for any of the brothers that are watching right now. It's a powerful book, and just a lot of his information you'll find. It's called The Multi-Orgasmic Man. Um,
Oh, I just ordered that book. Anyway, sorry.
I
so
that people have troubles having orgasms, so I'm just like, okay, I'm
we
special.
need that's that like almost I feel like that's almost a show unto itself.
On, on itself, trust me,
But
trust
I
me.
mean, I think a lot of this is the thing. I think I'll speak from Black men's perspective. I think and shout out to my brother Mike Truth. I think for a lot of us um who take the time to, let's say, like we're talking about, like heal in between relationships and things of that nature, right? I always say that you attract what you cultivate,
Mm-hmm.
right? You attract what you cultivate. So if you cultivate anger, if you cultivate, you know what I'm saying, frustration, if you cultivate those things, you will attract that to you, right? That's from an intimate perspective, that's from a friendship, like that's what you'll bring to you, right? So when we take the time to heal, not only can we attract people who are on that journey of healing, but depending on where we at in our journey of healing, you can also attract broken people. You can also
Yes.
attract people that are not well. And so if you haven't taken the time to do the work on self, then you may attract somebody that is supposed to be, you can form a trauma bond with that person, right? So now you're bonding because of the trauma that you both went through, right? So we have to do the work. But the point of what I was going to say is when we get to the point where we've done the healing work and now we're pursuing relationships, sometimes we will meet women who haven't been able to take the time to know their bodies. So as a result, going like our sister Donna, you know what I'm talking about. As a result, as you said, like they may not have had experiences in the past where they've been able to climax with their partner. So now they're getting to know their body. And I found that sometimes we end up knowing their body more than they know their body,
That's true, though.
right?
That's so true. That
Which
is
is
true.
unfortunate. So you have to get to know like your own body and what stimulates you and what works for you and what, you know, and then we can start that journey
Start.
together,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But until that's
That's true.
done, you know,
Is
we're
it possible that there are people, I know we're going over, but not to say we're running things, but Sharon might say, Sharon, Lady Sharon, I have to go. But is it possible that people can also be like have highly sensitive bodies?
Sensitive
Because
how?
for me, I definitely have no problem with an orgasm, alone or with a man. Like I guess probably because I know my body then maybe. But my
You,
body,
you,
I would say I have a lot of erogenous parts. I shouldn't be telling the whole world this.
no,
But
but
erogenous parts on my body. My body is sensitive. I'm
and, and as long as you know that, so it's really refreshing to hear you talking about your erogenous body and the zones on your body, because a lot of women don't know this. They don't take
they
the time to, yeah, they don't take the time to find out which part. I'm going to tell you, every inch of your body, all of your body is energy. Because remember, we're energy. All
yes.
part of your body is energetic, but then some part is more sensitive than the other. And we also have to discuss that clitoral orgasm is not true orgasm. Clitoral orgasm is a quick up, down, and you're done.
Yeah.
That's not orgasm. And I mean,
So true.
I'm going to tell you, a lot of women buy these vibrators, and I am not to take anything away from that. I love vibrators, but they're just clitoral stimulation, a stimulator. And after that, that's it. Kofi and I talk about energy orgasm,
Energy organ.
breathing in orgasm, walking in orgasm, core orgasm, exercise orgasms. We don't know how to breathe anymore. We don't know how to relax anymore. Orgasm is not a race. It's such a
mm,
soothing, intimate action. Yeah. Woo. Anyways, I'm gonna come bring myself back in because
I get a
we
lot of
I
comments.
don't even
I see
understand how
a lot
powerful
of
this energy is. What?
get
Sorry.
to, yeah, I've seen a lot of comments coming down. I'm pretty bad with these comments, but it says get to know your own stuff. Even through sometimes we tell our partners, but they don't listen.
What are they?
Okay.
What are they telling their partners though? What are they telling them? Because remember, conversation is key when you're having sex or intercourse, or whatever you want to call it. It's communication is key. What are they telling their partner? Are they telling their partner, okay, that feels good? Go faster, go slower, touch me right here. What are they saying?
Yeah,
What are they
yeah.
saying? Because their partner, he has to be. If he's not listening, push him off.
He
You know
might
what
be
I mean?
too.
so
I
so
think
again, going back to the communication, right?
Yes, it's
That
huge.
conversation happens before the bedroom. You said it earlier,
Before
Sister
the
Donna,
bedroom.
before the
But it can
bedroom.
but Kofi, it can happen before. It can happen before, but also during the
Absolutely.
action.
during
Because
I
But
what
but the
but
but
a lot of
the comfortability, right?
but
The
that's the thing.
comfortability
You
has to
have to be
start
comfortable. You
before,
have
right?
to be comfortable. Because I've known persons that they're having intercourse, and then the guy may switch up. I mean, it feels good to the person. So all she has to say that don't move, come back, do the same thing that you're doing. But she's not bringing him back. She's
And
allowing
how
him to change positions.
and how often, Sister Donna, you go on women that you talk to, how
Hmm.
often have you been told to ask for what you want?
Yeah,
You,
you have to.
right?
and
You
you
have to.
could even, I'm not trying to be a little fresh, but still, you could even groove, you could communicate it, but you could also groove for what you want to. Because a lot of women have a tendency to be just receivers and not necessarily engaging while they're not really feeling. And then some men just want to hit in and out.
Communication. If those are not the kind of woman for you, or that's not the kind of men for you, you're not supposed to be together.
He's supposed to explore inside if they want for tips, you know. If they want, he wants,
He
you
can,
know, he wants what
he's not the one that's feeling it. She is.
good for her more time, believe it or not. But if he's interested on releasing versus engaging in
Mhm.
and you
You
know,
know
like
what? Brother Kofi can talk about this. Men need to know how to have semen retention too.
Mm-hmm.
That's another. I mean, we can talk about sexuality all night. And Brother
Um,
Kofi can talk about semen retention, women. You know what I mean?
That's it.
So probably another time because yeah, it's kind of getting late.
yeah.
So anybody who's tuning in, just know that we're covering all these bases. Just know on Wednesday, 9 o'clock, we're gonna be back. This is Donna. If you're back, I'm gonna be back next week at 9 o'clock. And we're gonna delve into somebody, and maybe we can give some really basic kind of like basic 3 to 5 like things, that men should be doing or that women should, that would be helpful to build that intimacy, to build the connection before you even get to,
Even
what I'm
before you
saying?
get to the bedroom, yeah. That's
Yeah.
you know what? I'm glad that you bring this, because this conversation definitely needs to be had.
And before we go quickly, you early right in the beginning of when we touched on the 80s. It's just the 80s. I'm dating myself, but dating back into high school, middle school, even one of the things that we've been doing, and I mentioned like the whole spectrum and going to the club and into all ages club and stuff like that. This is something that beasts have a tendency to, like a bird will watch another bird, the best dancer, the best, all of these, the most beautiful bird, we got to get out of beast mode
Mm.
and get into a higher level of thinking, not just chemistry. But this is why I brought you two on, Donna Savage, Coach Kofi, right? Was really to get us into a higher thinking other than just this gyrating and attraction and chemistry. We're beyond beast. We have been over the beast of the earth.
You know what? And I agree with you. And women need to stop performing for other women. That's what that's all about. It's not for the men. The dancing, the gyrating, the dressing up, the I can do. It's not for the men. They're doing it for women. It's a couple of competitions. It's about people pleasing. And the minute they can switch that around, things are going to change.
Ooh, that's a big one. See, I didn't know this one. I didn't know this one. Donna, wow. This is new. Drop the mic once again. I didn't even know. You see?
But think about it, Kopi. Think about it. They're not doing it for men.
Originally, it was like
it's for they're doing it for women. It's about competition. It's that I look better than you.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Me go see a spectrum last week. Oh my God, this was Sharon Avan. She not gonna look better than me this week. It's about the competition. You know what I mean? When women are doing this thing, if you're comfortable with your body and the way you look, it's about me. It's about me. It's not about nobody else. I could go to a party because I'm comfortable with myself in a jeans and a jacket, and nobody rock it better than me because it's about me. It's not about what Sharon has on. You know what I mean? This is what I feel comfortable in. It has something to do with anybody.
That's right.
Right? It is what it is. Well, you think there's all these women or competing, her ass is bigger than mine. So guess what? I'm gonna go to the Brazil, get the BBLs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's just I want women to just love them. I want them to just ooze comfort and confidence and self-love. And the minute we can understand that, it's not about competition. It's about just loving me for me. It's okay to do a cosmetic here and there. I have nothing wrong with that. For me, right now, I don't wear makeup. I'm just naturally that way. Like I don't wear makeup, and I'm fine with that. But if you wear makeup, that's fine too. But do it for yourself. Don't do it for other women. Do it for yourself.
Absolutely. Has really, it's honestly, it's key. It's something that we definitely have to learn. We have to continue this conversation. We have questions that have hit, but I'm going to probably pull it on to the next conversation but if you guys feel you have an answer, off the top, we have Art Avenue with 2 questions. It says, what are some tips in leaving baggage at the door when entering a new relationship? We probably can visit that the next, but if you do have some. And then it goes, what are your opinions I don't even, I don't, I'm not a big fan of this person, but okay, what are your opinions on the book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman by, Sh
I haven't read that,
Shawazan.
so
I can't even say her name, but
Shawazan.
I haven't read it, so I can't even make a comment on
but
that.
I've been knowing her for a very long time. And she's one of the people that to me, not saying that she's wrong on everything, but it's not my Jamaican, I mean, my Black Canadian narrative. I'm sorry.
She's very provocative, and definitely a lot will come from. You could just look up her name. You'll see a lot of
What's
like
her name?
interviews. Look at the bottom, Sister Donna, where it says question. You see her name at the bottom.
Shahrazad, I can never say it, Ali. I know the name when I see it. And I've
Okay.
been around her since I was a youth. I never agreed with her. I maybe I have something to learn from her, but I knew at that time, even then, it was an American narrative that she was bringing. But I'm sure there are some nuggets. But to me, it's honestly, I'm not saying that Black Canadian women are so loving to our Black men. In all honesty, I'm not saying that, but it's just so much different. Caribbean culture says you need to know how to cook if you are a woman. You know what I mean?
You need to do what?
Like Caribbean culture would expect you to cook if you are a woman. You know what I mean? These things were already there, but these are the narrative, and these are not things that necessarily make you a woman. Knowing how to cook, nail polish doesn't make you a woman. When I hear other groups that well, I always thought I would wanted to be this and like because I saw the nail polish. No, nail polish doesn't make you a woman. Pants or skirt to make you a woman. Cooking to make you a woman. So this is why I'm like, this is not our narrative. So I would like for us maybe to revisit some of. I took a screenshot of Art Avenue's questions so that we can probably be able to look into how can we leave baggage
At the door before a relationship.
get into a new relationship. I've stopped. I'm not saying I'm in a new relationship, but I literally have baggage. And I had to tell the person, no, I have baggage. I literally had to say that. I've got baggage, not even the mama baggage, but baggage from the past relationship. And we do definitely need those tools. So I don't know if you have any tips for today or we can carry it on to the
For
next
that, for
show.
baggages, heal before you move on to our next relationship. What does that look like? It's going to take a longer session because I know we're going to
100%.
tighten up soon. But that's it. Just heal, and don't bring your baggage onto a new relationship unless you know you're healed.
At least we know that part.
So yeah, that's it. Let's heal. How to do it? That's going to take a very long time now to discuss.
And the healing is not necessarily, oh, I'm over him. It has to do with you
Of course.
or over
Yeah,
her.
emotions, right?
Him or her,
Emotions,
whatever you prefer, right?
emotions. Yeah, emotions. Okay.
All right, and Donna, I know you have a book before we go, but I do know you have a book as well. I
Yes,
know
I
Kofi,
do.
I want you guys to give your plug because y'all, I'm enjoying this.
Good.
We're gonna be
Because
back. We're gonna be back. Shanna, thank
Yes,
you.
we
Thank
are.
you.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead, Kofi.
no, I was just gonna say thank you, Sharon, for creating this space, for us to engage in this conversation. Then I'll definitely be back if you'll have me. And it's always great connecting with Sister Donna as we continue to engage community in these types of conversations because they're needed. And there's something called the self-love quotient that I talk about in my book. So I'm just answering the question that was asked in terms of your self-love and where you are in your self-love journey. There's a book called The Self-Love Experiment. That's a great book relative to that. That you can look up and you can get a lot from. And you can also even download like the audio book, or you can get a taste of the audio book with regards to that. Because I found that to be very helpful in terms of understanding where you are in your journey of healing.
Mm-hmm.
The author's name is Shannon Kaiser. Um, I'm actually starting a series called the Divine Love series, Thursdays
Oh,
at
that's
7 p.m.
nice.
So feel free to, and I'm gonna connect with you, Sister Donna.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna connect with you 7 p.m. on Thursday. So tomorrow, if you want to join me, just click the link in my bio. You can get some more information or reach out to me. And I'm also doing a 2-day boot camp on rejuvenated love relationships. I have an 8-week course with regards to this, but I did something called the Rejuvenated Relationship Summit last year. So I'm going to be doing it again. But it was a 2-day summit that we did. with different guest speakers that came on, everything from therapists to counselors, etc., relationship coaches, stuff like that. So I'll be doing a 2-day boot camp this Saturday and Sunday. If you're interested, just again, click the link in my bio, you get more information. And I'm looking forward to coming back on. If it's next week, Wednesday at 9, let me, looking forward to
Oh,
Sharon.
coming
Wait to
back,
hear.
y'all coming back. Y'all coming back. It's Shannon
Pastor.
Kaiser, Self-Love Experiment by Shannon Kaiser.
Yes.
Kaiser.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, beautiful. Shannon Kaiser. So I'm definitely gonna get that. And then,
Okay.
Pastor Sister Donna. Sister Donna.
Well, yes, my book is called Heads Up, Chest Out, and Own Your Shit.
Mm.
It's a guide how to boost your sexuality while connecting with self. Yeah, I don't have any big events coming up for the end of the year. I'm dying down. Like I'm just getting all ready for the holidays. So I'm like brother Kofi. So anything comes, I'll probably just piggyback off of him to help him
Come
out.
true.
I
Come
do have
true.
a bunch of interviews. I just at a conference called From Pain to Pleasure last week. 5 different female talking about, again, I'm sorry.
from pain to pleasure.
It's called From Pain to Pleasure, Healing Through Storytelling. So we did that last week. Yeah, and the next year, a lot of big things are coming up. As you said, I do a lot of workshops, one-on-one counseling and group sessions as well. And hopefully I can do my book too for next year as well.
Of course. That's a
Mhm.
legacy, That's a
Yes,
legacy.
yes, yes,
Well,
yes.
I appreciate both of you guys, just really embracing this journey because the transparency of developing self, as you said earlier, starts with self.
Self itself.
The courage to be able to, it's not just to say, I want to teach people and whatnot. It's actually being honest to the world,
Mhm.
to be able to come up with the solutions and the answers that you guys have been providing today and through your book and through your life's mission. So we appreciate you here on the Roots Reggae Hub family. And Donna, we've just been running into each other all the time. So it's
I
like,
know.
oh, you talk about sex? I'm like, you do. I was like, I talk to that. It's just cool. What? So if you are available next Wednesday, we'd love to have you come
I'll
back.
keep I'll keep you posted. I have to check my calendar.
Yes, but just we won't go over. I think it's really just feeling out. We'll get a one topic. We might run with Art Avenue's topic about tools to really leave that baggage behind and be able to go like what does healing look like? What are different strategies to heal? Of course, self-love, this and that, everything. We're gonna look at that. I think that's the next step because it's not about black love. I just realized it's about
Love. Love is
love.
love.
Love is love. Okay, well, so you Sharon signing out with Coach Kofi, and Donna Savage on the Roots Reggae Hub. One love.
One love. Peace and
Bye.
blessings.
See you next week.